Ever since Call of Duty Black Ops 2 came out in 2012 with its futuristic theme and Advanced Warfare in 2014 with its exo movement system, the near-future war shooter genre has received lots and lots of backlash from the kinds of people who buy first-person shooters yearly. Many of them aren't fans of either the recent sci-fi movie-influenced setting influenced by movies such as Avatar, radical gameplay changes, or both, and instead they just want a historical shooter with real-life weapons in historical settings, or yet another modern shooter. You know, even though World War II shooters flooded the market ever since Medal of Honor became popular. Until around 2009, when Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 came out, and maybe before that with COD 4. And a few years before that, Battlefield 2 came out, and that was a modern war shooter. Of course, after Modern Warfare-style games oversaturated the market like World War II shooters did, game developers and publishers started putting out futuristic shooters, and the kinds of people who bought shooters didn't like them for various reasons, ranging from different gameplay to the fact that future warfare isn't as cool as hunting terrorists and pretending you're a tactical soldier or shooting Nazis in the face. And futuristic warfare is too much like Halo, and it's 2016 and Halo's not cool anymore. I mean, Halo's so 2007. So some marketing geniuses at EA and DICE decided, what if we made an old war shooter again? I mean, after all, it's not like modern gamers are going to go back to the older war shooters unless they got HD remasters anyway. Because after all, who remembers that Battlefield 1942, 1943, and Vietnam exist? They're not on the Xbox One or PlayStation 4, and GameSpy is shut down anyways, which means to play online it would require more effort than just clicking a button and getting in a server. After all, money talks, which is why EA and DICE developed Battlefield 1. No, not Battlefield 1942. No, not Battlefield PS4. No, not Battlefield 64. Battlefield 1. It's not a prequel to Battlefield 2, but it's actually a World War I shooter. A war that's featured in so few games, you're more likely to find a game worth playing on the Vita. And that's for a good reason, because trench warfare wouldn't make for a fun war shooter. It would end up being a tactical shooter that would have a smaller and narrower fan base. But after all, look at how many people online want Call of Duty to go back to the present. So let's take a look at Battlefield 1, a video game that supposedly takes place in World War I. And I say supposedly because it's very loosely based on it. It's about as based as World War I is, as Call of Duty Black Ops is based on the Cold War. And you know, at least Black Ops was a fictional game. Now, this review is going to focus on the multiplayer, and for a good reason. Nobody buys Battlefield for the single player, and when Battlefield was new, it was a multiplayer-only game. Plus, DICE's last release was a multiplayer-only game anyhow. I mean, look at Star Wars Battlefront. When you start Battlefield 1, you start by seeing a video that goes out of its way to emphasize that yes, there were African American soldiers in the conflict by showing you about some obscure group of soldiers from World War I. Afterwards, you're thrown into the campaign since the game really wants you to play their high-budget campaign that tons of money likely went towards producing and polishing. And it paid off to some people because DICE even got their very own Polygon article and articles on numerous other gaming sites that parrot the same stuff about how diverse Battlefield 1 is. You can, however, start and back out, going straight into the multiplayer like every other Battlefield game. And let's be honest, I could spend all day talking about the connections between DICE, EA, and special interest groups, but it wouldn't matter if you played as a hair-dyed, genderless blob in Battlefield 1, because it still doesn't change what I'm about to talk about next. After all, EA isn't just known for pushing political correctness in every nook and cranny possible. They're also known for making mediocre games. And if you're worried about historical accuracy, pandering is merely the tip of the iceberg. The menus are very clunky in Battlefield 1, being a direct clone of Microsoft's Metro, which was used in the current 360 dashboard and the original Xbox One dashboard, and it's similar to the menus in Star Wars Battlefront. It's clunky, but somebody at EA really loves it, which is why it not only got ported over to Battlefield 4 as well, but it's even later on getting put into Battlefield Hardline, which nobody plays. You can select the game mode here, get into a match, and wait for it to load. Once you're in a game, you get possibly the most frustrating example of shoot, die, respawn style gameplay since Star Wars Battlefront. Just like Call of Duty Ghosts, a typical match involves being shot at by campers that you aren't aware of because you see no dots on your minimap, just as your teammates and anyone who was spotted. This game rewards campers, especially those with automatic weapons that are very powerful and kill fast, or snipers. You'll be running and running only to die from someone you can't see, and this means that the game gets frustrating and boring after a while. At least you can now rush with a bayonet to get across the map quicker. You can have fun killing enemies quickly, but any other fun you have will be cut off by a speedy death because you die quicker than in any other battlefield. Gameplay is less about skill and more about, can you spot the enemy quick enough? You'd better hope you can spot the player fast enough, because if you can't, you're dead. If anything, that's the worst part about Battlefield 1. The gameplay in this game is just so frustrating, and there's nothing more frustrating like shooting at people from a distance only to not hit them while they kill you from a distance, or when they run up near you and kill you despite you being unaware of their presence. Trust me, this is one of the most frustrating Battlefield games you'll play. Unless, of course, you're that person whose idea of gameplay is camping in a corner. If that's how you play your video games, then you'll not only love Battlefield 1, but you probably also pre-ordered the $80 version to play it 3 days early, just so you can show EA that you love every single thing they slap their logo on. On the flip side, the graphics in this game are the usual graphics you'd expect from a DICE title. They're stunning and depict the environments in World War I with the graphics of a Frostbite engine title, and both the lighting and textures look amazing. The first thing you'll think of when you see these graphics is that they're the perfect game for a video card maker to show off their high-end video cards with because they're so stunning. And you know who does that? AMD. When compared to Battlefield 4, this game's graphics are a clear step above it, and it's obvious that there has been some progression since Battlefield 4 when it comes to graphics on next-gen consoles. The game also gave me the feeling that the setting was chosen as an excuse to give the player numerous things to play with from that time, including older weapons, horses, biplanes, warships, chemical attacks, flamethrowers, and the like. If anything, this game feels less like World War I and more like an Indiana Jones or period film. Just like how Battlefield Hardline felt like the police, according to CNN, Time Magazine, and the Huffington Post, when they're running an article about how police officers are going to just kill every black person in America instead of, actual police procedure, because that wouldn't be as fun and marketable. And then, of course, those police are fighting cartels armed like armies. I mean, what is this, the Middle East? But then again, EA isn't a company about pandering to those who want video games that are as realistic as possible. They're about pandering to those who want political correctness and hot political issues according to the media and their video games, while also trying to make mass-market video games which cater to everyone. Which is why you'll be playing a role-playing game, and all of a sudden a character will just say, "Hey everybody, I'm trans." Yeah. That's what happened in an EA video game, Dragon Age Inquisition. And it's not very good writing, but despite this, however, you also can't win every battle with that audience, as some of them will always sound like a preacher on television complaining about those gosh darn kids and their PlayStations trained to become a school shooter with their murder simulators, while simultaneously promoting games that nobody buys whatsoever. Either way, though, Battlefield 1 isn't a very good game, and political talk aside, it doesn't change the fact that Battlefield 1 still sucks. Maybe if EA spent as much time working on making a fun shooter as they did pandering or polishing it, Battlefield 1 would be a good game, but instead it turned out to be a bad game, and a frustrating one at that too, and it's not worth your money. Don't waste your money on Battlefield 1. Save it. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more.